Welcome. This is Micah Fairchild, Editor-in-Chief of HRLab.com, and we're continuing our examination of the top 10 HRMS solutions today by turning our attention to the internationally focused Meta4. And I'm pleased to have my colleague Chuck Schaefer, who also happens to be the CEO of Vantive Media, joining us for this discussion. Thanks for coming along today, Chuck. I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to provide us with some of your insights on this solution.
Happy to do it, Micah. So thanks for having me.
Okay, Chuck, so you've heard me introduce our next entrant into the top 10, Meta4. They're an international powerhouse that's, at least for the U.S. market, is way behind in terms of brand recognition. In fact, it's quite possible that some of our viewers today may not have ever even heard of them. So as a recent convert yourself, what is it off the bat that you think prospective buyers need to know about Meta4?
Well, first off, you're correct that many U.S. HCM software buyers have never heard of this company. And without being recognized in the country with the top IT spend in the world, it certainly does limit the company's growth strategy. But this is definitely a company that prospective HCM software buyers should keep their eyes on. To your question, though, I'm going to say that one of the more significant and unique elements of the Meta4 solution is their people-centric architecture for organizational structuring. In a lot of ways, this is like what Kronos accomplished with their self-service hub as an organizational center. It's a reimagining of system relationships. Meta4 is much better than me at describing this, but essentially, the construct is built around the idea that anyone with a relationship to the organization is first defined as a person, and second is defined to everything else, meaning that any activity that takes place within the organization takes place within the HCM system as relative to the person.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that one. It's really amazing to me that we're still seeing innovation like this happening at the structure and the self-service levels. The cloud may be getting all the press these days, but it's offerings like this from Kronos and Meta4 that those really are innovative. For me, though, I think I'd also add in Meta4's workflow engine to the plus column, simply because it's so adept at business process automation and achieving those reduced cycle times and labor productivity goals that so many businesses are seeking.
You know, Micah, I agree with you on that. Workflow automation is a powerful tool in automating otherwise manual business processes. Additionally, we can't forget about the best-of-breed payroll functionality that they've got with their PeopleNet solution. After all, it's compatible with many country-specific regulatory requirements, supports multinational currency management for global companies, and leverages Meta4's rule-based component architecture, which allows for both country and company-specific rules to be applied without having to resort to software coding. And on top of that, they've added in a level of flexibility for managing payroll with things like retroactivity, natural language text for payroll customizations, and dynamic multi-tier value assignments that are really only matched by one or two other HCM vendors.
You took the words right out of my mouth. So I think it's pretty clear that we're both fans of this offering. But in all fairness to our other top 10 solutions, there are some obvious areas of improvement. For me, one of the standout areas that's clearly in need of some help is their social strategy. I think it was back in the early 2000s. They really miscalculated the talent management market and wound up falling behind in terms of development. And I'm afraid that they risk repeating that mistake if more isn't done in making their application more socially driven. Now, it's not completely missing, mind you, but overall their tactics right now for engaging users, clients, partners, employees, it feels more CRM than HCM driven. How about you?
I agree with you. Talent management and leveraging social media to add value to HCM software are weaknesses for Meta4. And as a business intelligence advocate, I find myself wanting more from Meta4's PeopleNet Active Dashboard module. It does deliver strong business data visualizations, but the best-in-class business intelligence areas of data modeling and predictive analytics just aren't there. And that's frankly disappointing for a company that's clearly made a commitment to business insight. And of course, like we've seen from other HCM software publishers, which means I can't let Meta4 off the hook either, The lack of visual software customization tools and an online ecosystem of integrated third-party applications leaves customers with few good options when the payroll or HR software is missing particular feature sets or requires software customizations. Much like the more advanced analytics functions I just mentioned, giving users easily leveraged customization tools that can make application changes using layers of abstraction and without source code modifications is rapidly becoming a key business software requirement in order to make enterprise software more extensible and increase software investment payback.
Agreed. And I think I put Meta4's mobile capabilities in that camp as well. I mean, seriously, their mobility options right now are incredibly limited. They're basically only providing browser-neutral access to web pages, which obviously means bad user experience and simply not taking advantage of the mobile operating system, those features or the capabilities of that form factor. And companies that aren't seriously pursuing a mobile strategy or designing applications for mobile form factors are going to be left behind. And in my mind, these deficiency areas of social, workforce insights, and mobile, that's pretty significant. And those are issues that Meta4 really needs to improve upon.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how a HCM solution can have so many good qualities, demonstrate innovation, and still need some help on some of the basics. After all, Meta4's object model, their flexible process behaviors, their multi-tenant software as a service architecture suggests to me that they have the right people on board working on the critical foundational areas. And they have their pulse on the direction of the HR technology industry as it's moving. They've just got multiple areas they've fallen behind on. I will say, though, that the areas we've referenced for improvement may be somewhat more U.S.-centric in nature, and that may help explain some of this.
Some good insight. After all, we know that marketing efforts within the U.S. have been paltry. And so Meta4's social media engagements, they've been that way too with customers. What we could be witnessing, I guess, is an international HR software company whose priorities are just different than the companies we normally see here in the States.
Yeah, in my discussions with business leaders in Europe, Latin and South America, I find the areas where Meta4 has been successful haven't fully embraced the areas of mobile and social as much as the U.S. just yet, but that is beginning to change.
Okay, so we're just about out of time again, Chuck. What advice would you leave with those prospective buyers that are watching right now and considering Meta4 as a potential solution?
Well, I'd first say that if you're a global company looking at deploying an HRMS solution in multiple countries, Meta4 should be on your consideration shortlist. After all, with over 1,300 customers, the largest of which has 3 million plus employees, spread out over 100 countries, chances are Meta4 already has a customer base in the localities you're looking for. And second, as we can all attest to, don't judge a book by its cover. I have been clearly impressed with Meta4 in many areas, but its lack of brand recognition continues to keep it off most HCM software buyers' radar. Well-recognized Tier 1 HCM software vendors aren't always the ones that will have the best solution to address your company's unique requirements. And particularly for global HR and payroll requirements, it often makes sense to expand your software search and consider lesser-known brands.
That's very true. And I'm sure we could add another good 10 more minutes talking about these finer points. But your last thought there, I think that's a great spot for us to end this discussion today. So thanks for joining us, and make sure you tune in next time as we continue our reviews of the top solutions and our deeper examination of the intersection of HR strategies, processes, and technology.